eloquently of welcome. In fact, in our first hymn we had this morning, speaks of welcome. Jesus tells the disciples as he sends them out to announce the coming of the kingdom with acts and deeds and speech. He tells them, and he tells them today, anyone who welcomes you welcomes me. Anyone who welcomes you also welcomes the one who sent you. Anyone who welcomes a prophet, just because that person is a prophet, will be given the same reward as a prophet. Anyone who welcomes a good person, just because that person is good, will be given the same reward as a good person. And anyone who gives one of my most humble followers a cup of cool water, just because the person is my follower, will surely be rewarded. It's a slightly different translation to what we've just heard, but it's equally valid. So what does it mean to welcome? Welcome. How do we do that here, in this place? How do we make this house of God a home, a community of love, a family? We are called to give welcome, called to give to God, and called to give as God gives, in abundance, using God's economy, God's accounting in faith, surrendering our wills to God's purpose. But of course, we know that already, don't we? We who worship and serve here in St. Michael's already know that the Lord calls us to self-giving love, calls us to welcome as a sign of that love. And whoever gives to one of these little ones even a cup of cold water to drink, truly I say to you, he shall not lose that reward. Interesting. It has to be cold water. Go and give them a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. It'll be cold water, so after we start the service, everybody has to drink cold water. Not true. I once read about a woman whose church group bought Christmas gifts for a missionary family. After meticulously selecting the presents based on the family's needs, sizes and ages, the group gathered to pack them. That's when another member whisked in and plopped an almost new man's coat on the table. The husband didn't like the style, and when she turned to go, she suggested that maybe one of the missionaries could use it. Several people were offended. The coat wouldn't fit anybody in the missionary family. Obviously, the woman hadn't given much thought or time to the project. But the other presents didn't completely fill the barrel they were packing. So someone folded the coat and stuck it in, just pushed it in. It made perfect packing material. After Christmas, a thank you letter arrived from the missionary family. They thanked the church for their many gifts, and especially for the miracle gift. It seems that during a storm, a destitute man knocked on their door. He was so ill-dressed for the cold, they invited him to stay until the storm had passed. Even though their visitor would have no gifts in the barrel, they decided to open it. That's when they discovered the coat. It fit the man perfectly. Do such things really happen today, like that? Some of you are nodding. Yes, they do. All the time. You never know when you give that cup of cold water, that unneeded coat, how that gift may be used by God. Because no gift given, no welcome is ever given in vain. And Jesus said, and whoever gives to one of these little ones, even a cup of cold water to drink, truly I say to you, he shall not lose his reward. She shall not lose her reward. You have to be very careful now when I say he and she or they. Some people are afraid to give their money and their time and their talent and their life to God because they think they will lose what they give. Unfortunately, they don't understand God's economy. They don't understand that God works differently, that God's ways are not our ways. Are any of you afraid to give? Question. Do we think that there's no use? People aren't interested in what we have to give? As a congregation in this church? Are people not interested in what we have to give? Are we hiding in the shadow of a mean, inhospitable post-Christian world, huddled fearfully together with our little candles, afraid to hold them high? Have we chosen to avoid the risks of discipleship, the risks of welcoming? These are good questions to ask ourselves. The practice of self-examination is an ancient and honourable one. The willingness to do an examination like this is a sign of spiritual maturity and bodes well for the future of our faith community. So, back to my original 3 questions. What does it mean to welcome? How do we do that here in this place? How do we make this house of God a home? How do we make this congregation a community of love, a family? If you've been awake and listening, you'll notice that there are really 4 questions. Oh, somebody was watching and listening. 4 questions. I ask you to remember them and take them home with you to reflect on. But I have a few suggestions before you do. First, start thinking of the house of God in this place as home, as family, as I'm sure perhaps a lot of you do. In the wedding service I'm privileged to attend, or wedding service is, I don't know if you, it's emphasised that a new family has been formed in the sight of God. And this new family is called in covenant to a commitment of the will to love, honour, cherish and serve with faithfulness. I will, say the bride and groom. Similarly, in our baptism and confirmation, we're called in covenant to a commitment of the will. By our vows, we have been formed into family. I will, we say, as we profess our faith. We will, we say, as a family of faith, at each new covenanting. We are a covenant people. It's time to live that covenant. Secondly, practice on each other the welcome and the hospitality that you offer from your own homes and families. Be genuinely concerned about each other's welfare. Soon you will find yourselves welcoming Christ in newcomers and strangers as well. For the word has spread that in this place, a home, a family, God's people are to be found. Thirdly, remember that you are needy too. Remember the need of God's grace, the need of forgiveness, the need of compassion, the need of loneliness that you have experienced. Remember how God, through this community, through this family, has met those needs. Receive these gifts, this hospitality, this welcome. They are signs of God's favour and bring healing and wholeness to all. And let yourselves occasionally be the cherished guest for Christ's sake and in his name. And fourth and last, make a conscious effort to invite Jesus into your life and put him first. Make a conscious decision to reach out to those in want and get involved. Yes, it costs to give. Our lives will be interrupted, our privacy occasionally invaded, our nerves frayed, our patience tried. Yet what we give up, our self-interested agendas, we will discover to have been really heavy burdens that we've been dragging around. The world is very much in need of smiles, is crying out for small acts of kindness, and desperately longs for cups of cold water. Will you, as a congregation, as a community of faith in this place, as St. Paul said in our Romans reading this morning, give yourselves to God as people who have been raised from death to life, making every part of your body serve God so that you will belong completely to him. Will you make God's house a home? Will you give yourself to God in Christ's name? I'm sure God is waiting to hear your answer.